We are an engine from light. We are an engine built from light. All the energy that currently suffices life. There was a study done that said that if the sun disappears, like what species would still exist in like thousands and millions of years. And it would say that it's highly unlikely that any, terrestrial landform would survive. However, these volcanic, like these bacteria around like these volcanic, you know, super deep down in the ocean, these lava, pumes, those animals would still exist. And it's just interesting to see that, I suppose, like the sun gives so much energy to the earth to an extent that, without it, it literally would just be a rock in space. And energy has a funny way of passing down to ground state in the quickest possible method, I suppose. That's why short circuits exist. Maybe, I'm not too sure about this. But, light, the energy from light, literally talking about energy here, it goes into a chemical process in a plant, photosynthesized, produced into glucose. And that glucose, that energy stored within that, the energy of that original photon, then gets passed on to the plant, and then the plant, when eaten, gives energy to that glucose goes to the herbivore, which goes to the carnivore, the predator, or the what are they called? The vultures. Those people. Yeah. So energy gets recycled. Kept in the food chain. Like energy is very concentrated here. So it's energy being highly concentrated, right? Which is continuously using vessels to, I guess, step down their energy, quantumly, like through like collective energy levels. Thinking about like vegetation to herbivore to predator, this is why you eat, you'd rather like farm cows than farm tigers, right? Like a pound of tiger is worth the same nutritional value as a pound of beef, but it takes 10 pounds of beef to feed 1 pound of tiger. So yeah, like economically it makes sense, but like, you know what I mean. So yeah, like energy gets lost down the food chain, but energy is still much more conserved, or it's not conserved, it is always conserved. Energy is much more controlled in their release. So I feel like, interestingly enough, like the earth, it's just one whole like story of the light from the sun. And the sun is constantly feeding the story. And you are part of that story. This movie has been playing for a million years. Well, actually, 450 million, I don't know, 700-800 million years already? Incredible. Yeah. Inside you, there was energy that was being passed down in the most efficient way that made you, competitive as a trait and a genetic trait, or a position, or a family heritage, or a culture. You know, a family culture that made you intelligent, you know, hyper vigilant, curious, probably genetically, I'm not sure, maybe more prone to ADHD or autism or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, hyper vigilant, hyper perfectionist, hyper attention to detail, all that stuff, you know. But also now better able to regulate that, understanding that mess can exist, mess, you know, low entropy states always exist. And yeah, it's, you know, your job to kind of optimize this low, you know, slow transfer of that energy. You know, we are a store of the sun's progress, of all that life that the sun has provided this planet. Yeah, it's yeah, like, you know, except for those fucking lava crabs or whatever it was. Oh, also they found like bacteria like inside of like rock, which is crazy. So those bacteria might still exist because it's like heated by the Earth's mantle, so it's not actually like going to be affected too much. Maybe carbon dioxide might actually slowly drain it. Yeah, they could just die. Yeah, they could all just die after a couple million years. Interesting.